to the cloud. So sorry for the delay, folks, but hello, SIG Network. This is the August 15th community sync. This is a CNCF meeting, and we abide by those rules. And the summary is just don't be a jerk. I have to drop in 23 minutes for a meeting at 10:30, and Shane will take over. And I'm just getting to my machine, so I haven't had time to triage. So has someone started that or been able to do that? If not, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. I didn't really wait anybody to respond, but share. Share. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. Right on. Where do we want to start, folks? We actually have quite the array.
Unassigned ones, which you can filter for too if you like, tend to be a good unassigned and recent tend to be the best ones to start with.
Well, this one's a shortened list. I kind of like that filter. It's just 3. We'll just start. Cannot set kubelet config resolve conf with drop-ins config files. Interesting. I didn't even know you could do this.
But this seems entirely SIG node.
Yeah. This is more like container runtime stuff, so I don't think this is actually us. Do we all agree on that one? I'm pretty certain this is not us.
Who labeled us?
Let's find out who. Canon 92.
And Antonio took a look. What did he say after that? Just that? Asked if it was a dupe.
Yeah, so no. In this case, if anything, it's SIG node or the container runtime, but that kind of looked like up above. Like this is interesting.
I don't know if I would just simply unlabel it. Maybe does somebody want to triage it? Just take it a little further, dig in a bit.
But it really is I mean, it's has kubelet config in the name.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Maybe it's fair. I think I understand why he flagged it SIG Network, but I get that it's not really ours. So yeah, maybe just kill the flag and move on.
Yeah, I'll take it off on the. Yeah, I mean, they mentioned DNS, so that's automatically us.
Right, that's why he did it.
All right, next one up. Still seeing issue for endpoints staying out of sync. Didn't someone just? I don't think this was resolved by Will, was it? I wrote a small script. And sync endpoints or endpoint slices. What are you even trying to do? Kind of looks like someone is waiting for logs on this one. Anybody have some insight to chime on this one? Anybody want to triage it? But I think we're still waiting for information or additional logs. I think we should wait for additional logs before we start triaging it. Does anybody agree on that one?
So TNQN is a SIG network reviewer. So I would say since he seems to be looking at this, you could assign it to him and just, with a comment that looks like you're already looking into this. So please mark it as triaged or as triage accepted if it looks like a real bug.
You said TNQN is the reviewer?
Yeah, he's on SIG network reviewers. So the fact that he's looking at this means essentially somebody is you have to do a new line after the
Yeah.
assign command.
Yep. He's our newest reviewer, I think.
Sweet. Knocking them down. Next up, impossible to notice without major delay when a container exits while the
So-
pod.
I've been looking at this one. The title is kind of a mess, but basically he has a pod with multiple containers and the main container exits, but since the other containers didn't, Kubelet still considers the pod to be running, and then the endpoint slice controller still considers the pod to be running. And so then it still tries to send connections to it, even though the main container exited. And there's this pending question of how much should the endpoint slice controller be looking at containers rather than pods? And I was hoping Tim would be around to discuss this. And maybe we should just wait until next meeting when he is around, unless anybody else has strong opinions about this.
Oh, let's see, but it's a 5-second delay. Isn't this part of also like the container runtime behavior of detecting when like the task has exited?
So the issue is that there's a lot of text here, but the issue is that the container that is actually handling incoming connections exits,
Yep.
but other containers don't exit. And so because there are still containers running, Kubernetes still considers the pod to be alive. And he is saying it shouldn't because the main container exited.
That makes sense. It does sound like, yeah, Tim would have some insights. I was just kind of curious from like a container runtime perspective of what we return as like, well, I guess there's like only two states from the container runtime perspective, but I would assume this would not be running anymore or consider it that way. But that's just my gist from the runtime perspective.
But how can you know which is the main container and which is sidecar containers?
Right.
That's a good point.
Because I don't think he's using literal sidecar containers. I think it's just multiple containers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This is related to the play site.
You're a little muffled, Antonio. It sounds like your speaker is stuck.
Yeah, the new headphones. Okay. I don't know if this is able to. I was talking with Tim like 1 month ago about sidecars and this thing, and this is depends on the pod life cycle, right? They I don't know. The node people have this logic that how the different container status impact the pod state, and that's what the endpoint realizes. That's what the endpoint controller moves to the endpoint license. So if the question is how the pod lifecycle handles the individual container status, I don't know. But I think that's an and, not an or.
Well, yeah, it came down to like what is like, the main container in quotes, like, is that like the container at index 0 for the pod spec? And like how do we differentiate between the, using this vernacular main container versus like sidecars or the other containers? And if all containers are running, is that running? And if one container is not running, what's the pod state? And how does that reflect to the endpoints?
Yeah, but that's my okay. But this is a node question: is how the different containers impact the pod state, and we just get the pod state and move to the endpoint right.
Right on. So then in your perspective, we're just getting fed potentially not right information, or the state needs to be reflected accurately from a SIG node perspective.
Yeah, you can see me. I can follow up. I mean, and Tim, you add Tim for sure because he was. I've been discussing this recently with him with Sidecar, and he has this information more fresh than anybody for sure.
Right on, and thank you, Dan, for getting that for me. Sweet deal. We got all three in our filtered list. Does anybody have any other ones that they want to bring to the community that we might have missed? So give it a second or two to someone to throw one in the chat or raise their hand. All right. Nothing else for triage. Does anybody have what's the next item on the agenda? Let me stop sharing really quick. I think
Rob wants to talk about AI.
Ooh, interesting subject. Why don't you
Cool.
go ahead?
Yeah, let me see if I can even bring up what I said I was going to talk about, but I can run real quick. So at a high level, I just want to share some work we're doing that is networking related now in working group serving. So there's been a push to standardize how we route to LLM endpoints in particular. And there's some work that's coming from Google and ByteDance around one particular approach that we can consider. And that approach is what I would call Gateway API compatible. And hopefully eventually could make it into Gateway API. But for right now, we're just trying to gather folks that are interested in working group serving and iterate on that from there. So this specific area is what I would call dense LoRa, but the idea that you're wanting to pack a lot of LoRa adapters on the same pods and then intelligently route based on which adapter happens to be loaded at that point in time. So this would kind of fit behind something like Kong's AI Gateway or something like that. It's kind of a lower level construct, I would say. Yeah, so I linked some docs in the agenda. Feel free to read them. Feel free to ping if you're interested in being part of this. But this is just a heads up that working group serving is starting to expand into the networking space. So if anyone is interested in the intersection between networking, gateway API, and AI, there's now a work group forming around that. So, yeah.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Yeah, I shared the link to the docs in Antonio.
Yeah, the working group. This working group is going to be formed or it's already formed. I think that's already right.
I mean, so right now we've been using working group serving exclusively. Depending on level of interest, there may be a subgroup or a smaller group that meets, more regularly than that. But for now, if you're interested, just hop on over to working group serving.
Okay, it's a spin-off of that. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yep.
Right on, Shane. It looks like you're next up on the queue.
Yeah, my topic is a follow-up. So sometime last year, there was a document that I wrote about sub-project leads, which had a bunch of ideas about how we could kind of how sub-project leadership would work that weren't really popular within the SIG. This PR adds a document to the community page or proposes a document to the community page, which basically dials it back a lot. So this is sub-project leads would mostly be about recognition, but there are some responsibilities pointed out in the doc, which are mostly just about reporting on a fairly regular basis what's going on with the sub-project. That's pretty much it. The only actual responsibility added is just let us know what you're doing in a kind of summary fashion on a regular basis. So I just wanted to point this out. Surya helped me write this up a little bit. We just kind of went in tandem on it. And it just follows behind, I can't remember which SIG now, but it just follows the lead of another SIG that actually did start kind of trying to fill out their sub-project lead configuration more. So take a look at it if you're interested. If you are a lead, which basically means you're a maintainer of one of the sub-projects within SIG Network, take a look at it and add your comments.
Thank you, Shane, for doing this. That was actually the last
Additional
item
thanks
on
to
the-
Surya because
Oh.
she helped me because we kind of did it in tandem because I needed somebody to like bring me off the edge of trying to provide too many responsibilities. So we brought it down to just like, let's just have them report what they're doing.
Well, appreciate you both for getting this done. It was mostly Shane. Just reading the comments. But appreciate you both. So that was the only items on the agenda. Does anybody have anything else? Rounds outside the box? Questions,
There's
comments,
this
concerns?
has been posted in a couple places in Slack, but I will just throw it out one more time that I'm trying to make sure I grab my notes here from the contributor summit. The CFP goes till September 15th, the contributor summit for KubeCon Salt Lake. If you are going, just keep in mind this one's a special one. We actually got the contributor summit to be on Monday, separate from the co-located events, which is really nice. If you appreciate that, go share your appreciation and summit staff on Kubernetes Slack because they would love to hear, because people had to work pretty hard to make that work out, and it costs a lot of extra money. I'm personally like super enthusiastic about that because it used to go over all the co-located events, so we'd lose some people. But yeah, CFPs are open until the 15th. If you're an org member, please do put in a proposal for anything that you want to talk about. Reach out to me or any of the other leads if you have some ideas for proposals, but maybe you're looking for like, I don't know, I need a partner to do the talk with. We might be able to connect you with somebody and get you going. Yeah, just don't forget the contributor summit. And again, it's on Monday, so just remember that for your travel to KubeCon, that it's a day earlier than normal.
That's a great call out. I had no idea. So luckily I'm coming in on Saturday. So excellent. Thank you for that. That is super nice. I do remember the one in Detroit where it was like, 80% less people. So this is good.
They've all been really great. I love the contributor summit. It's my favorite part of going to KubeCon.
Oh yeah. It'll be good times. Sweet deal. Well, that was it. And I had to leave in 5 minutes, so we're like kind of wrapping up early.
Just a quick note, and we don't have to stay on the call for this, but I'm working an issue that I need a little bit of guidance on. I've pasted into the Slack, into the Zoom chat, if anybody has a moment to help unblock me.
I cannot link. I cannot.
Yeah, the link
mean,
seems okay. There it is.
Yeah, just remove the trailing parentheses.
Sorry.
Okay.
So it's an old issue about tracking TCP memory, and then I think changing the kubelet to be not ready, which is fine. The other part I wasn't sure about is traditionally when something else like this happens, like PIDs run out, or disk space or RAM or whatever, kubelet starts evicting pods. And I think I wasn't too sure the direction to take it. And somebody, I'm not too sure who, commented thinking that that pod should be evicted, but I don't think it's possible because I don't think it's a namespaced resource. I'm not 100% sure. I'm also not 100% sure how to receive that data. I don't think it's available. I forget the mechanism that you get those stats from the pod. You can probably skip most all the way down to the bottom.
They used to use cAdvisor to get the stats from the pod.
Yeah,
But
cAdvisor, and I think there's an interface that supports cAdvisor and something else.
yeah, because Cryo, I mean, the goal is to remove cAdvisor, but it's like, I mean, one thing is the goal and
Okay.
it never happened. But
So basically, the second last comment is kind of my question, and then depending on the answers, we'll chat about it further.
Do we know if this is not namespace? Like, how is it? Would be good to just have a definitive statement on like how the accounting works.
Yeah, that is something I'm
Software.
also not sure about. Maybe I should actually answer that question first.
Yeah, I think that would help because if it's just accounted for inside the container, maybe it's like it might make the question easier to answer.
Yeah. What's the authoritative source for figuring that out? Kernel
The source
docs.
code somewhere. Some
Okay.
like doc.
Cool. That's a good suggestion. And if it's not namespaced, I'm assuming it's going to be difficult to track per pod and then kill pods. So the option 2 that I've listed there, that I'm assuming is not possible.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, so I don't know if this had a better answer. Like, for example, the disk space used to be just like scan the file system. It was very expensive. So if you had to
Yeah.
do something similar, probably it's not gonna be good.
Right. And then continue down that path, assuming that isn't a feasible option, would just setting the node to unready be good enough? Kind of let TCP sockets drain, all that kind of stuff, and then mark the node ready again? That feels, I don't know, it feels a bit weird.
Yeah, I
but,
think it's like a heavy hammer. But I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, that I don't know. This is about pods, right? Or about the host?
The issue
Now
seemed to
I'm
start
confused.
with the host.
But
But
this
the
is
issue was
a
raised.
system problem. I mean,
Yeah.
we cannot convert the kubelet in a node agent that do a lot of things. So, I don't know. Is this memory in the TCP sockets accounted for the global memory?
Right. I don't know.
Yeah, but because if that's accounted there, you already have the mechanism. If this reported issues about a specific application that leaked TCP memory, I mean, you can have 200 of leaks in memory. We cannot go by one by one.
One thing is you should look up what we do today with like out of disk space and those things. Does that already, because I know that's a condition, and is like,
Yeah.
is that already wired to making a node unready, or we just consider it as just like a signal, and then that does not necessarily mean things
Right.
are not ready.
So
but
it does two things. Memory, disk, and I think PID, they both set the node as unready, and then they start evicting pods until the node is ready again.
Interesting.
That seems to be a common pattern. So this kind of feels different to that because it doesn't seem like it's a namespace resource, which I should probably go and answer that first.
The other question is like, who gets evicted first? Is it just random?
Yeah, so there seems to be a mechanism to figure that out for the other resources. I haven't gone into details as to what those mechanisms are, but you know, if we can't figure out which pods are using up the TCP memory, then it's going to be difficult to kill pods unless it's random. But that also feels kind of wrong and not the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think like it would be great to on the namespacing and kind of the accounting, because the random killing feels like it's going to cause more people to file issues. Like my thing was randomly killed and I have no idea why.
Yeah, agreed. I'm just trying to figure out next steps. Figure out if it's namespaced or not. If it is namespaced, there's probably a path forward. If it is not namespaced, I'm not too sure how we should go about solving this problem.
Yeah, that sounds like a good next step. Because if it's accountable and then we can trace it, then it seems reasonable the system can go and decide to go evict the thing that's eating stuff up.
But
If it's not,
I
then
think
right.
this memory is from the available memory in the system, or not?
Yeah, it's sort of like the buffer cache. Is that I think there's some low watermark below
Yeah, but
which.
then it's already, Kubernetes is already tracking the memory. So this is about adding more granularity about what part of this memory.
There's a ProxysNet IPv4 has a few settings to set the maximum that this memory can be. And so this task was asking to compare that maximum against what is currently used. And so I'm assuming it comes part of the pod's memory, the whatever processes. Actually,
Yeah,
I'm not
but
sure. I have no idea.
the thing is, we cannot build a system of eviction based on TCP, because the TCP is never steady. It's always going to grow or going to ring, and at one moment can be full and the other it cannot be full, right? It's TCP, so we cannot.
Right. Yeah.
I don't fully understand why what's the goal here. One thing is what
Yeah.
the issue reported, they have an issue with a memory leak and want to have more visibility. And the other thing is what this is going on, what is the proposal we're giving them? What we cannot do is a bit pod based on TCP or any network stack, because network is bursty. You never have I mean, it's bursty. It's not something that
Yeah.
you consume 1 kilobit or 8 kilobit. You consume everything and it's time, what is the name? Multiplexer, time multiplexer. Okay, you always get all the thing or not. So building some mechanism of accounting on the network, I don't know. I mean, we need to make a complex
So I
design for
think
them.
I see two things. One is like you have a large transfer and you're basically it keeps expanding the sockets, but those actually shrink under memory pressure. I think the other one is it sounds like there's like a lot of leaked sockets. So the question is like, should that be handled in the same way as like a runaway process eating disk space? Because it is a system resource that's kind of being consumed. That's how I see it. Like, is it reasonable for this aspect to also be kind of containerized in some ways? Like the containerization also involves basically creating some sort of isolation and eviction if something goes crazy.
Although you said some words that struck me. If this resource was namespaced and there was isolation between pods, I'm assuming pod A couldn't affect pods B's memory.
Yeah, I don't know how the
That's an
accounting works
assumption.
in that case.
Yeah.
Like, is it accounted towards memory? Not clear. I don't know enough, I guess. So maybe this is why I'm saying next step is to kind of figure out what happens.
Yeah. Okay. I'll spend some more time on that. The little bit of research I've done, it does seem like this isn't a namespace resource. It seems like it's a system-wide resource, I think. Cool. I'll have a look at that next steps, and I guess I'll bring it to the next SIG meeting. Or if anybody wants to get involved in the ticket or on the issue, that'd also be great. if somebody knows a bit more about this stuff than I do. But cool, thank you.
Roger that. Thanks for bringing it up. If you get stuck more, just PM me, Adrian. I can get you connected to the right people.
Oh, thank you.
Is socket buffer namespacing going to be in Linux 7 or something? Shane, inside track.
More on that later. Shall we adjourn?
Sure.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Right.